Hi, and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you very much for taking the time once again out of your very busy Monday night to join me. I really do appreciate it. So, I wanted to troll everyone again for about another 12 minutes or so and talk about predictive police programming or programs, predictive police programs. Link in the description below. I haven't quite seen the entire video. I kind of just started and then was like, oh, I kind of want to talk about that. But one of my favorite content creators, Upper Echelon, and talks about a lot of cool stuff and what he's about to talk about. I'm assuming because I'm not yet familiar with the video, but is things that are familiar. I think he talks about Minority Report and stuff. That's not what I'm going to be talking about, but it kind of just inspired what I will be talking about. So I thought I'd mention that. Anyways, link in the description below. I like to be a super transparent dude, things happen, they happen, I explain them, it's the truth. Sorry, can't change it. That's the cool thing about the truth, is that even if you, smoke as much weed as I do, it's no big deal, just living your life, right? Because it's just guided by a very simple principle. It's just being honest. Even when, it's bad, right? It's been bad. I haven't been the perfect person. Anyways. I'm sort of embodying this whole real shameless kind of a character of a personification that I have of myself. It's what I have to do to get through my day. We all do what we gotta do to get through our day. Anyways, predictive police program or, anything at all like this, it's all, okay, for the record, one, it's all dystopian. And I kind of want to get into that, right? Because another link in the description and below that I'll include is this video that talks about how there is mass surveillance, not just by Uncle Sam now, which again, it's one thing. It's one thing for me to socially accept the fact that the national government is spying on me. So, 2013, 2012, whenever Edward Snowden came out and decided to, be a whistleblower and let us all know what a lot of us already knew for a very long time. And that is just, confirmation that the government, spies on everyone, on all of us, and every government spies on everyone all the time, everywhere. It's just something that has always happened. This is how governments exist. This is the very reason that structured, one could argue, I guess, society works. No joke, it's just one of those things. And I just feel like predictive police programming, okay, so Uncle Sam, going back to that analogy, governments, they're always going to want to know what's going on, right? They have a very vested interest in keeping things the way that they are, whether or not that's good or bad. That's literally their job. They will always do that. I'm sorry to say, that, there will never be any privacy from your government, right? Especially if you're a constituent or citizen of that country. That would be my argument. And again, I want to believe the latter, but again, what is there to lose when it's just your local, your federal government? Unless you're doing some real grime or you're a real terrible person, as long as you're paying taxes and you're not a violent offender and you're not a repeat offender, again, there is a lot of freedom here in America so far as what the federal government provides us with. And it sucks when the federal government decides to take away some of those very basic rights, something they have not yet done, obviously, but it's getting kind of close to, right? I'm cast from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and there's National Guardsmen on Route 66, one of the oldest interstate highways, ever, or it used to be, whatever. I don't know. I'm not a documentarian on Route 66. All I know is that right now there are National Guardsmen, right, which are symbolic of a state's sovereignty, but still under the umbrella of a larger federal entity that could or could not be in agreement with that state's sovereign armed militia, and in this case, again, it's just kind of weird that I'm saying these things, right? And all while there are some very weird things happening, and including that, the idea that an armed militia is needed to control traffic and crime on a local city street that doesn't span any more than 4 miles going either direction. I mean, you would think that, again, like, society would just be better and that cops would be able to do their job. But let's not get too far away from that subject. But I couldn't go forward without bringing those things up. So just, and they're all my opinion. Remember, I'm just a loser. I'm a nobody. Don't be mad. Don't be upset. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel, right? And so, that being said, given that I feel that way about the federal government, whether you like it or not, right? That, like, I really firmly believe that we never have any privacy, we never will, and we shouldn't expect that degree of privacy. All while we should definitely fight for it and definitely ascertain and procure and protect our right to have that very right, but it's not going to be recognized. That's all that I'm saying. And again, that in and of itself is something to accept too, because it doesn't really mean that, like, legally they can do these things, but they still do. But it's important to have laws to say that they don't, even though that they still do, so that places like your local law enforcement doesn't decide to hire a third-party company that is sourcing software from a company that's also developed Pegasus, that happens to be out of Israel, that happens to be one of the largest cyber arm dealers in the entire world. These are things that are happening, and not counter cyber, whatever. They sell things to deter crime, to predict where crime is going to be in communities. And, the data that it's fed is obviously systemically racist, because crime basically is, committed where people that have no opportunities live. I think that's pretty clear, and I've always made the argument that crime is something that can very easily be eradicated just even overnight, and not even by prosecuting the criminals that are committing crimes, but just by making the world a better place by, your government being better to you, but not like the local government, but that's a job for the federal government. Again, it's a weird balance here, right? You'd think that the state would want to take care of you, or that the local government would want to take care of you, but they can only do what the government tells them that they can do, and they don't want to do anything more than that unless it's something that is in the interest only of the state, and that's never giving people more freedom. So it's just one of those cycles, and I just feel like predictive police programs that involve aggregate data from people that unknowingly give it to them so that they can make decisions based on where they will patrol or not patrol. I just almost feel like it's like entrapment on a cyber level. Like, is cyber entrapment a thing? Because it clearly could be a thing. Like, you clearly could buy software from a place, monitor everybody, and just, when one of those people that you're monitoring happens to break a crime, you can be there to facilitate the persecution of that crime. And I guess I don't understand what the end game is, right? Like, it's almost just super cringe and weird that, instead of promoting peace and by providing a framework that will allow for crime to not be committed, we actively do things to harbor crime and try and understand what we can from numbers and statistics that we clearly know are skewed in a way that can be changed and aren't needed to be that way. I know this isn't as cohesive as I wanted it to be when I first started this speech, and there's been a few different little sidebars that I've taken, but I hope that more or less you guys understand. Links in the description below to exactly what I'm talking about to kind of put it into perspective, but just know that your local law enforcement is collecting a vast amount of data about you, and you aren't really giving consent to them to do that. And again, they're not Uncle Sam. They're not fighting international terrorism. They're not making sure that human beings aren't forced into slavery. They are not doing those things. They are literally making it harder for local people to sort of embrace that whole kind of thing that's called free will, and understand that people make good decisions when they have good environments. If people don't have good environments, the likelihood that they're to make good decisions is super low. So, like, I mean, you can judge that any way you want, but that's just like a strong opinion that I have. And I just feel like, monitoring people unnecessarily in any kind of a capacity does not deter crime so much as that it enforces crime that already is being committed. And instead of trying to address that, we address the people that are criminals, yes, but also victims of circumstance so far as it concerns the environment that they are given, right? That they live in. I know those things rhyme, and I'm not trying to be funny, but that's just the way I feel about it. And I feel like it's real weird that, local law enforcement is so interested. And again, I say this because if it were so, good in nature, and if there weren't any sort of nefarious things that could come from said practice, I'd still be for it. But now we have empirical data that tells us that when police are given these powers, they are just not abused. They are also used in a personal, weird kind of a way where, for example, I'll include a link in the description below, police officers are like monitoring their exes and like checking on their friends. Like, again, that's weird. That's just kind of weird. Like, knowing that, if you date a cop or something, that you might be on their streams, like that's just weird. Like, I'm just saying, like, that is a weird thing. And people are sometimes weird, and I don't think we should be giving local law enforcement the kind of scope of power that they are currently being given. It's a power that is dedicated and reserved for the federal government. That's my only argument, and that's just because we'll never get away from it with them, but we shouldn't have to deal with it locally, because, again, local law enforcement should enforce local laws. They shouldn't actively promote the committance of crimes so that they can imprison people. Just take away the incentive to commit crime, and you will in fact take away crime. Like, crime is a byproduct of people's unfortunate conditions and experiences. It is not at all a whole result of something that comes, at least statistically speaking. There are still always some bad people, for whatever reason, but I would just say that that's how I feel about everything. So I hope that you guys have a really good night, and thanks for watching my show. And I'm trying to make, I might make another video, I'm not sure. I kind of want to finish what, this guy was saying or whatever, but I'm pretty sure I already know what he's going to say so far as it concerns some of those different programs that all law enforcement agencies throughout the country are buying. And you would be silly to think that your local law enforcement doesn't absolutely know everything about you. And again, like, that's just a little weird, I think, because it's like, again, because they use that information to discriminate. They don't use it to make the world a better place. They use it to make sure that Raul, who has a warrant because he hasn't paid his 10 traffic tickets, gets picked up on some dumb charge so that he can spend whatever amount. Like, and again, I'm not, it's just weird, right? Like, we want to deter crime, we want to prevent crime. I'm not saying those things. I'm just saying that we also want to give people an opportunity to make the right or wrong decision. And again, I just feel like it's pretty easy to understand that, again, people make better decisions and the right decisions if they have, the conditions of which that allow them to do that. And if they don't, I can assure you that it's not going to be likely that any good will come from anything, and that's just something that bothers me. So I thought I'd talk about it. Anyways, breaking character, you guys are awesome. Thank you for watching my show. All that absolutely is always definitely true. These are all improv talks. I think it's weird that local law enforcement, agencies or whatever have such access to all of this data. And again, just because, predicting crime might not turn out to be as accurate as you'd like it to be, right? And again, it's just because all the data that's fed to this generative AI is extremely biased, and we now know this. We know that the majority of generative AI is inherently biased. It's created by biased people that have different types of feelings towards different types of people that are conscious or not, but still embody a level of injustice that is unequal. And again, that again, picking on poor people because we know that they're likely to commit more crime than people that have money and aren't likely to commit. And again, what's weird is that people with money often do still commit crime, and so that's weird. But the different kinds of crime they commit are white collar, right? And fortunately for all of the majority of white people that get caught committing white collar crime, it's not treated the same way, and they often serve less time, and they often incur more damage on other people, right? I mean, I'm sure that Ken Lay, the former executive of Enron, is just as guilty and should be thereby just as responsible for spending as many years as he possibly could have incarcerated as a result of all the money that he stole. But, comparatively speaking to the crime, he didn't do the time. And, that was actually, I do think, thanks to George Bush, who I guess I can't really entirely hate on because I guess they were friends, and that's what friends do. I don't know, so but yeah, it doesn't still mean that I don't like that dude, but whatever. Just again, a good example, right? And people in Texas that get pulled over in their car and have any type of amount of weed on them or on their person, sometimes get incarcerated for like 7 years. Like you get like 7 years for like getting caught with the doobie, in Texas. Whereas like you steal billions of dollars and you get like 2 years and a pardon from the president. Again, like those are real things, and I feel like it's a little unequal. I feel like the guy and has the doobie trying to get to wherever he needs to in Texas is just a little bit different than the guy named Ken Lay who, defrauded all of his family and friends and investors for billions of dollars.